Hello. Thank you all for coming. So my name is Neil Dwyer, and I help run the literary series in the magazine here at the college. And I'm very happy to see you here this evening. It's great to sponsor, to host our first Connections reading of the semester with Jake Shore. And I'm going to get out of the way in just a second to let Rachel Heinhorst introduce him. But I do want to say that we have a card out on the table that you can pick up on your way out, and it basically tells you what's going on here at the college in the fall semester. And we have another poet coming on November 10th to our Prince Frederick campus, and he's a wonderful poet. I think if you like Jake, you're going to absolutely love Tim Siebel's too. That's November 10th. If any of you write or take photographs and you want to submit to the College Literary Magazine for publication, that deadline is a week from Tuesday. And then finally, the publication reading for that magazine is on December 1st. So we do have a lot going on here, and we hope if you come out to this evening's event, that might just, whet your appetite to come out for more of them. Okay, so we hope to see you again. All right, thanks.
Hello. Thank you for coming. I'm excited tonight because Jake is a very good friend of mine, and I haven't seen him in about 5 years, so I kind of feel like I'm in some sort of alternate reality because he's actually here. Jake and I graduated together, both earning MFA degrees from Goddard College in Vermont. I met him by a bonfire. I met him through writing. I met him and decided his voice would be one I would never forget. Jake was writing short stories mostly when I met him, and by the time we'd meet again our second semester at Goddard, we had found a circle of friends, poets, playwrights, essayists, songwriters, graphic novelists. Goddard's Hay Barn Theater would be our meeting place to share our stories, our dreams of writing. We figured out pretty clearly that Jake's stories were sort of our favorite, so he quickly became sort of a show star, a brilliant mind that captures life's realities and turns them into stories the audience wants more of. I say he's a master of dialogue, creates real characters, captures the kind of back and forth conversation found in living rooms, city parks, small towns, and strange encounters of new people. A conversation between a father and daughter from Jake's short story, On State Line, delivers this capturing. He writes, "Charles was nice. Will we see him again?" Alice, the daughter, asks. "I don't know, baby." "Why don't you know?" Alice asks. "Well, sometimes," the father says. "Sometimes?" Alice asked. "Yeah, sometimes we don't always see everyone again, baby. But don't you worry about that," the father says. This is real. This is genuine exchange. This is human language. This is what we know happens in real life, but rarely get to encounter unless it's our own. And I do happen to be particularly fond of capturing a child's voice, which Jake does very well. I cannot be more proud of Jake's accomplishments. He is a writer of short stories, plays, and has written a novel. His plays have been called innovative, intriguing, and real. His most recent play, The Devil is on the Loose with an Axe in Marshalltown, not only really cool to say, but was also listed on Playbill's 13 most shows not to miss off Broadway. And Down the Mountain and Across the Stream, the play Our Students Know, won the New York International Fringe Festival's Overall Excellence in Playwriting Award in 2013. I say with certainty that Jake's creative voice will continue finding success. And now you all get a chance to hear what I heard almost 7 years ago when I first met him. Your turn, Jake.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you to the College of Southern Maryland, and thanks to everyone for being here. It's a huge honor, and I'm humbled and won't touch the microphone again. All right, so I'm going to read a short story to start, and then I will read bits of a play. So this story is called Father Loved All of Us Equally, and It's numbered, so that's why I'll keep saying numbers. It's in different parts. 1. 4 dogs down Rodaway sunk in the mud. That river ain't worth damn a nickel, and I've known men said that. Rotten waste no more than 2 things taken away when she come down and call me a hunk of no good and makes me sour. Crunched brains, she say shit such without irony. She's not mom, but she feels sorta. Words got more than they say most of the time. Dredge all 4 out, downring 'em, haul 'em gone, and we got a deal, she call after me 2 steps ahead, almost clear out. Boot damn near clear out, but I halt when it's 4. Fine, I say. Don't make no difference, this place gets cleaned up and it all look like fucking more rather than something I've dug out. I'll fix it, I told her. Each smile worse than the last, wanting waning songs to burst first and then truth. You'll get paid, she say. Don't worry your heart. My chest vacant, I call out into the hollow hallways of some far back part up here. Wish I could have blasted her in the face with that, though. My chest vacant. You got something to say, Everett? No. Each dog I take out covered all mud cracks, clean sects of my need for water's blue pristine. This water never meant nothing to me, for the life of me, but now it's more dead dog pasture than anything else for a good long. I never wanted money to fetch a river like this and turn into a funeral, but here I am, bogged down in mud, my ankle croaking for a breath, and I can't think 2 bits it'll fade and leave my mind for the life of me. Now forever, this river, 4 dead dogs. She chucked cash clear straight into my idea of what beauty coulda. Damn ever fucking like this river, and now look. 2. The property needs to be divided up according to the will, but because the will has been taken or stolen or lost, says Jared, there's a fight. He claims to his siblings that he owns the entire property. You don't, Marcia says, sitting at a dining room table, now used as just another surface to put full brown taped up moving boxes. Her glare out the back window at the river reflects in the glass. What none of these 4 know, but we do, is that none of them have seen the will. None of them ever saw it, but after discovering the will is nowhere, they've started searching through their memories, trying to remind themselves of times they discussed the will with Father. And some of them, we can't be sure how many, it's possible it's all 4 of them, have convinced themselves Father actually did show them the will. It doesn't seem likely, and this is well known by everyone, but Father drank quite a bit and was prone to reveal to his children a great many secrets of the family fortune. So from their view, it's entirely possible the Father showed one of them the will during one of the times he drunkenly spoke about it. He once told Lorna about a mutual fund worth $450,000 that he not only never told Mother about, but he kept the money a secret even when the market was going out of business. Mother wanted the market and would have done anything to keep it. He cared very little for the market and wasn't about to take anything out of that mutual fund, even if it meant she'd worship him for a while. And here lies the problem. The amount of time she would have worshipped him would not have been worth the amount of money that he would have had to take out of the mutual fund. And furthermore, Father felt it'd be easier and less hassle and better in the long run for the market to close down and the mutual fund to stay intact, even if it meant it caused Mother an enormous amount of pain. Father treated that mutual fund as if it were a shiny glass orb. It was possible for a glassblower to come along and remove part of the orb, but in Father's eyes, there would be no way to ever fully restore it later on. The mutual fund would be forever tarnished if even a dime were removed. Of course, Father didn't know Mother would die that summer, or that he would hang himself a week later. You don't own half of shit, Dirk says. The best way for this to get settled, you fuck, is for all of us to inherit a quarter of the goddamn property. Why are you making this more difficult than it has to be? Especially considering the magnitude of this shit that we've all been going through. This is like a nightmare horror film that you're perpetuating. You're a goddamn character in the drama that is this horror film fucking nightmare. And the last thing I want to do is to sit here in the midst of fucking packing, pouring through all of these memories, reliving and living them again, and have to feel this way towards my brothers and sisters. I thought we were a family. I thought this was the time we had to come together in the throes of tragedy, to band together and move forward as loved ones. I agree, says Marcia. Laura stays silent, looking down in her lap at the designs on her dress that look like little angels, although they sort of resemble small birds as well. She can't decide what they are, really, and in this moment, right now, as all this fighting is going on, she, Laura, decides that they are birds and not angels, because that's the state of affairs and the way the world seems. Father showed me the goddamn will. That's the only reason I'm putting up a fight, and the only thing that's keeping me from signing the paperwork. Now, you know I wouldn't be putting up a stink like this if Father hadn't shown me the will, says Jared. You know why I know you're a liar? Huh? You know why, asks Laura. No, I don't. Because I saw the fucking will, Laura says. Father showed it to me. You're a snake. You've always been one. You need to die. Now, Laura, I know you're upset, but really, you shouldn't make a wish like that, says Marcia. Shouldn't? Do you hear what he's saying? The method he's lying? This is obscene. This is inhuman. You're sick. I am not sick. I'm honest. And if you were too, if you did see the will, you'd be telling me the same facts that I'm providing. What's important to note is that there never was a will. Father never made one. He said he did. Claimed it on several occasions. Some nights he'd get drunk and go on to his friend the next day that he was going to integrate him into the will for being so loyal and leave him a piece of a large sum of money that none of the family knew about. But really, he never constructed the will. There isn't one. He thought he had plenty of time left, and he also had no understanding of how much he needed Mother until she died. They'd met quite young in high school and stuck it out for the entirety of their lives, members of a dying breed. He got locked into the idea that his life was a certain way with or without her, without realizing that the only reason he was able to have fine moments, ones that shined bright and were beautiful, was because she was by his side, even if the two of them were in the midst of a quarrel that appeared as if they were never going to speak again. They'd become intertwined, locked in existence together. And it took Father to lose Mother to truly realize this. And that's when he decided that the noose offered escape, his life not worth living. He rejected for the majority of his life how suicidal he really was. He buried the thoughts away as mistakes, scoffed them off as a symptom of being alive. But seeing her brains blown out all over the downstairs television screen with Jeopardy on full blast and blaring changed his idea on what it meant to be shocked and ready to die. 3. What you gotta fucking say? I do. What? Yep. What you got a fucking problem with? More that it's wrong. That's all I said. Fuck if I care, but it's wrong. It's wrong? Yeah. That's the fucking shit I just let out. You're the one listening down at the bar, me have a chat. What the fuck shit is that? You talk when I say you do, and you think when I think you should. You some type of god around here? You think you're God all alone here in a place just for you? Shit talk and you take a listen, huh? What the fuck you think wrong with me killing the fuck out of my dogs and bury them where the hell I want? I stand out at the bar stool and spat, it's not your fucking land worth shit. That's the main problem with it. You think that's it? That woman can suck my fucking cock as long as she wants. Let her try. I'm staying with her. And she's not half bad. So what the fuck you come off doing that straight out and then burying them like that without two shits? You staying with her because you's a poor shit bum. Is that it? You killed those dogs. I know you did. And I could tell when I hauled them out. Why you do it like that? Why you got a thing for it? I killed those dogs the way I want. What the fuck you got to say about it? Or that cunt that you're staying with, you poor. I carry a wrench for times things get out of hand and you're left not sure of what it needs. This one took it like a cunt. Second I took the wrench and swung clear, he looked at the head of it, but really buried his eyes deep into his own. He dreamed, seeing sure nothing worth two shits, and the wrench caught cracks in his eye. Blood human burst clear on the bar. 4. Nuns are like as good as you can get, you know? I mean, when you think about what nuns do and you get a feeling like they do something good. I mean, what can be better than a nun, really, when you take away all the stuff and you really think about it? Nuns, you know, they go out there and they do good and they want to do good for other people. Nuns don't think about themselves the way I do. They see a person, another person hurting, and they try to, they try to do something good and to make that better for that person. Nuns don't care about themselves. They don't really care about whether or not they're going to do something that makes them rich or nothing like that. That's not in their way of thinking and what they do for the world and other people. Nuns love everybody. Nuns just want to help people, and they try to help people who are really down in the shit because they know that helping people is the thing that really makes us worth something. And yeah, I mean, I am a person that knows this shit and doesn't let it change the way I do things. I don't change the shit that I do when I hear about nuns and what they do for people. You'd think that I'd hear about a nun going out and doing something real good for a kid who has nothing, and it'd make me want to do something good for that kid who doesn't have nothing, but that's not the way it works. It's like when I hear about a nun doing something real good on TV, that it's like she, the nun, is on the other side of the TV and I'm on this side. It's like we're on two different sides of not just the TV, but like there's something else separating us from me, and it's not just the glass from the TV. It's like I'm watching this nun do something good on TV, and it's like I realize things about the way that I might want to do things, and she's doing and help people, but I can't really get myself to think that I actually, go out there and do something good for a kid that doesn't have nothing. It's like that the nun is actually in the TV, and I'm in the real world, or sometimes it sort of feels like it's the other way around, and I'm actually in the TV, and she's on the TV, and I'm watching, but she's really in the real world, and I'm the one trapped behind the glass, not able to, go out there and do something for a kid that needs something. And I'm not talking about the slave kids that make iPhones, you know. I'm talking about the slave kids in China that make a lot of stuff that I buy when I go on Amazon or when I go to the mall. I'm talking about the kids that are right here, you know, the kids that I see on the street all the time that don't have anything. And it's like the people that walk around here walk by these kids and they aren't anything like the nuns. They aren't going to bend down and really see these kids and see their eyes and learn what's in their eyes and what's in all of us. Even though I watch these kids that are on TV, even though I watch these nuns that are on TV and the good that they do and they try to do, and it's not like I can think about how I can, me, put that type of thing into my life and do that type of thing. And that's weird too, is that nuns, you know, they aren't like the priests because the nuns are women, you know. It's like there can't be anything worse than really thinking that you can't get a hand job or something. I mean, it's kind of really the only thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, the thought that a nice girl will want to make me feel good, you know. I mean, I can't imagine having to wake up in my room in the morning but really be in my head, you know, because I got to be the one to think that it's wrong for me to go out and do something good to happen to my dick and then realize that God doesn't want that to happen for me. I mean, I really can't imagine what that would be like. And the nuns, you know, that's not the way that they think, and that's not why you don't ever hear about nuns going out and, you know, touching little kids, because they aren't men. You know, they're women, so they don't, you know what I mean? They're just better for some reason. I mean, you never hear about a nun going out and doing something evil. The priests who do that are the ones that can't do anything or have anything happen good to their dicks. But the women, the nuns, they go out into the world and they do good, you know? They see the little kid on the street and they want to help the kid, you know, because they're women, have a better, they have a better something about the way you need to help people, because it's that men really can't help other people because of something that just makes men, you know, something about why men are built. I mean, maybe men just can't really, maybe they're not able to love something the way that a woman can, because a woman can, you know, give birth or something. I mean, I don't know. I'm nothing, you know, and I don't really know, but I think it might have something to do with that. The idea that a woman is able to love, and that's why a nun, you know, can go out into the world and do good, and a man really can't. Women can love, you know. 5. Really, darling, I think you have to start thinking about all of this as if you're somewhat separate from the you were a few weeks back. I know it's hard. There isn't anything tougher in this world in some ways, but it doesn't indicate or require for you to completely engage when it's a much clearer and better and more productive idea to dodge. Sidestep it, darling. It's fine with me. And by all means, blame it on me in the end if you have to. I just want to see you walk around here beaming like you used to, like the days when you were aware and knew how cold it was sleeping at the bus station, and how appreciative you were still about the warmth of this place. Yeah. What do you mean, yeah, darling? What is a simple yeah coming from such a precious face? I don't know. Just forget about it, or rather, forget about the aspects of you before it happened that make the act a bit awkward. It's hard, you know. I'm having a hard time forgetting those aspects. All right. Now, what is it that you're having such trouble with comprehending, dear, about leaving this in the past and allowing for time to heal all wounds? It's only been a few days, I haven't really been able to process it. It's not something you have to process. It just is, dear. I've always known that we were going to, you know, have sex. I could sense that it was going to happen. I just don't understand why you wanted me to call you Mom in the first place if you knew that's where it was going. Look, dear, now, the term mom and what it means varies from place to place and from person to person. Now, of course, I didn't want you to call me mom and fuck me at the same time and have those two things be as connected as you're trying to make them out to be. I don't actually want to be your mother, dear. I'm not your mother. I guess it's just, in the beginning, I thought it'd be just darling and cute for people to come over, and when they asked about our situation, that you'd be calling me mom, that's all. I mean, you'd jump up onto my lap at those parties and act adolescent. It was darling, David, it really was. And all those I entertained just thought it was the most marvelous thing that I'd take you in like I did. I know. I remember acting that way. I mean, I was sort of acting that way last week when you had company. Right, dear? And I mean, I get it. I get why it's fun and why the whole thing happens and everything I do. It's just, when I first got here, yeah, like you were just saying, I was so happy that I, you know, had a place to stay and everything, you know? And it was like something really amazing had happened to me, and it was amazing, and it is. The way you have taken care of me out of nothing, and I really do love you for it, Ma. Judy, I just didn't know that we were going to have sex. And I guess I was ready for it to happen, and it was all fine, and I really don't, regret that it happened. I just am kind of unsure of what it means, you know, that you had me call you Mom, and then we do something like that. Dear, please, I wouldn't think too much into this. And as I say, let it move away from you and just focus on what we're doing here and now. Nothing has changed. And in my humble opinion, I hope you agree, things have gotten even better. Things are even better now than they were before, darling. So that's really all you need to think about. Does that sound all right? 6. I don't see us coming to an agreement tonight, so why don't we sleep on it, says Jared, and decide how we feel in the morning. The morning will not bring revelation, and the justice you seek, how you can call it that is beyond me. But nevertheless, whatever you're seeking will not appear with the fresh sun, says Laura. You are greedy, Jared. That's why all this is happening. I don't care if you did see the will or if you didn't, or if there wasn't a will at all. In this time, at this moment, you doing this is the greediest and most vile thing you've ever done to the three of us. The people that you love, or at least the people in this life that you're supposed to love. Dirk stands and says, I don't think you saw the will. Sit down, Dirk. No, I don't think you should sit down, Dirk, Laura says. What? You think he's ganging up on me like we're in a schoolyard? I know you're hurting, Jared. Other than Mom and Dad, you're the only one here that's tried to take your own life, says Marcia. How can you bring that up? How can you say that? Do you think it's a reaction to this, asks Marcia? Do you think that's why you're trying to maintain dominance over the three of us? Because you know that the way Mom and Dad died might make you take your own life too? And this is all a distraction, so you don't have to think about that? No, says Jared, but thanks for bringing all this up. Dirk sits. Marcia starts rifling through her bag that's on the floor. She sits up and plops a length of rope down onto the table. What is that? Asks Laura. Jared, you want to talk about how you've seen things and the rest of us haven't? You want to talk about the fact that you've seen the will and challenge Laura and say you saw it and she didn't? This is the rope that Dad used to hang himself. I know because I was the fucking one who found him. Oh, that's right, Jared. I'm the one who found him. You think I'm going to get that image out of my mind? You said a neighbor found him, says Dirk. He told me that, Marcia. It wasn't a neighbor, says Marcia. Jared, look at me. He does. You fucking listen, all right? You know what I thought when I found Dad? Do you have any fucking idea what went through my mind? I mean, I can't tell you why, and I really don't want to admit this to you, but I'm going to anyway. I thought he was you. I thought the man that was hanging from that beam was actually you. I don't know why. Once I adjusted from the initial wave of shock, I saw it was Dad. Dad's shoes, his pants, his sweater. And when I adjusted him, it was a blue and green version of his face. But I can tell you this. There was one fleeting moment where I thought it was you who was dangling and not him. Marcia, I'm sorry, all right, says Jared. I'm sorry that you had to find him. I'm sorry that you did. And I'm sorry for all of us. But I don't understand what this has to do with anything. I have the will, Jared. I have it right here in my bag. And you know what the fuck it says? It says that this house, this land, this property is left to me. Just me. Not you, not Dirk, not even you, Laura. Me. Just me, Marcia says. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You've been the proponent of splitting the fucking house in the first place. And now you say you have the goddamn will and the whole thing is you want to see it? Strong silence in here allows the crickets outside to sound like they're shrieking. You know what? Why don't you want to see it, asks Dirk? You're a liar. Are you fucking kidding me? You lie about this? You lie about this to us. One time when Laura was 5, she gazed at Jared like a child who learns of sadness. I prefer that we examine the will from out of her bag like great forceful militia comes a document from where Dirk and Laura and Jared are sitting looks like a will. Marcia holds it, presenting it with force. Give it here. No way. All right, then what are we going to do with it? You're going to tell us the truth, and then I'm going to burn it. You want to see it? You do? Yeah. So you're going to tell us the truth after you see this? Jared, are you fucking lying or not? Is that fucking will says that you're lying, and you don't tell us right the fuck now, I never saw the will, all right? There, I said it. Laura gets up and heads for the stairs. Laura, says Dirk, let her go, says Marcia. Look, all right? I have a family, goddammit. I have a family and another baby on the way. If that had any sense before he went, he would have left the fucking thing to me. You will sign the documents, Jared. We will all get a quarter of this house and the property, and you can go fuck yourself. Dirk hangs his head. All right. Laura gets to the top of the stairs, darts into her room, nudges the door shut, and locks it. The drawer of the bedside table is pulled open, and inside are the fresh papers of the mutual fund her father put in her name just before he died. She slams the drawer and sits on the bed. She looks out her window at the river. I don't think this is what he wanted when he said he wanted us to all be alive and stay the way he wanted us to be. She thinks, I think this is what it feels like to have a world, and then the ones downstairs need to die. They should have their throats cut. You can tie one off with a cord, beat one to death with a wrench. The ground in the back is soft for their bodies to bury. Slash Jared clear in the face with a blade and watch the blood and feel it in my veins, Laura thinks. The letter opener on the bedside table and now a botched slice attempt on her forearm. Out of her room, down the stairs, and calls of calls of Laura are ignored, and she puts out the back door and into the night. She presses on down to the river. She presses on down to the river, and she presses on down to the place beside the river, and she's beside the river. 7. Orange red sun streaks spray across blotched clouds. The rivers slosh and rush. Just before David's big toe pressure broke clear into the water, and then the rest of the foot all the way to the ankle. Now it just stays there, water curling and sliding along on its way, and he dunks his other foot in. Reeds crunch under Everett's boots, and animal images menacing curl up into David's mind, but don't land, and both feet stay sunk, and he barely glances over shoulder to see what's making its way down. More rustling and snaps, and David peers over and catches Everett's face and says, "Hi." "Yeah." Geese call off across the water, and Everett circles his eyes around to look for others, but it's just David, and his feet in the river here still. "You got the right thinking day like this," says Everett. "Yeah, the water feels good," says David. "Don't mind if I sit, do you? Do the same thing here?" "By all means." Boots come off, and Everett is down on the same patch of dry with his feet in the rushing water. "Yeah," says Everett. "I'm David. Everett. Nice to meet you." "Yeah, fine day. Right. Water's something. Yeah, I thought I didn't like it down here much, but now I'm starting to come around." "Yeah? Yeah. Staying with a lady had me do a job, make me think something about the river, but I think I'm past it. Not going to think about it that way anymore." "Girlfriend?" "No." "Oh, I ask because I'm staying with a woman, too. Not my girlfriend, though." "Wife?" "No, she's giving me a place to stay while I'm sort of in between here." "In between, huh? Yeah. Strange. What?" "Well, a bit of the same thing, you know, that house over there, the top right over the reeds. The roof over there, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's where. Oh, yeah. I'm 2 blocks over, huh? Yeah, I think I want to leave, though. I don't think I want to stay there anymore." "Don't want to be staying, huh?" "No, not with her anymore." "She do something to you?" "I'm not really sure what she did to me." "She hit you?" "No." "She make you fuck her?" "Kind of." "Nothing wrong with that, right? In a way. Not someone you really wanted to be fucking?" "Yeah, I guess you can say that." "Yeah, well, I fucked plenty of people I didn't want to fuck. That's what life is. Fucking people you don't really want to fuck." "Yeah, I mean, you fuck the people that you really want to fuck, and then she becomes a type of person you didn't really want to get into with in the first thing." "Right. Where you going?" "I don't know. I don't know if I'm going anywhere." "Yeah. Jesus Christ. What? What is that? What? Oh, shit. You got to be kidding me." Floating along calm with the tide looks like a body coming on down the river, coming towards these men. Everett hops alive and pounces, grabbing a piece of cloth near what looks to him like a body and looks to David like something he doesn't want to believe. "Hey, you better watch." Dragging to the side of the river and up onto the dry, gives Everett a look, and he can see it now. So can David. "Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. Oh, my Jesus Christ. What the fuck, man? You shouldn't have done that. Now she's up here with us. What are you doing?" "Shut up." "What? Stop your jabbering." Shut the fuck your jabbering, you son of a bitch, all right? There's no one here but us souls, so shut the fucking horn." "Okay," David says, standing like he knows where to go and get out. "What do we do? What are you talking about?" "Well, I mean, what the hell are we supposed to do about this? She's dead. The fuck you mean, do about this?" Sky blue overhead wraps around clouds white and their bottoms orange. A pack of geese ride there a tandem. The clap of a hunter's gun way off hits David so hard in the gut he startles. Everett keeps looking down at her. She young. End. Thank you so much. All right. So now I'm going to read scenes and fragments from The Devil is on the Loose with an Axe in Marshalltown, and I'll give some context. The first scene sets the rules, and this is 2 characters. One is named Orrin, and the other is named Arthur. And Orrin begins, and I'll give more context after, but this sets up the rules pretty well for what the play is. So this is the first scene. And again, Orrin begins, and then Arthur speaks. "If not you, then who did this, Arthur?" "Well, I'm not saying that." "You're not saying, nah, I ain't. You're not saying you didn't do it." "You don't got a daughter, Orrin. If you did, you'd be asking me different questions. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened the best I know how. That's all. I want to know the truth about Father David, all right?" Yeah, I know, you're right. "Did you do this to Father David, Arthur?" "You know, Orrin, when my baby girl Josephine was born, I felt like my wife gave birth to pure light likened to nothing ever been on this earth. If love had a face, it'd be hers. Curve of her nose, spot between her nose and her mouth. I decided my life was for her to live hers. The second I saw her, a protection kicked in solid. I had no control, but there was something deep inside telling me, you're going to protect this girl for the rest of your life. It's different from having a son. I looked down at my boy when he was born, and yeah, I thought I was going to protect him, but I also thought I was going to teach him to defend me and June, the family, all of us. It was like Henry was all of a sudden another foot soldier in the war of our lives the second he come out of his mama, but not Josephine, not my girl. With Josephine, it was different. I decided in that hospital room I was here to protect her, and that evil dare not bat its eyes at her, because if it did, that evil was going to have to deal with me. Arthur, this is all. It's kind to hear, really, my friend, how you feel about your family. It is. But I don't see what it's got to do with Father David. He's connected to God, Arthur. I can't wrap my mind around what this has to do with protecting anything or anyone from evil. Are you going to explain that to me, Arthur? Because in the last week and a half, there have been 2 brutal and just downright disturbing murders that have taken place in this here town, and I'm sad to say it's part of my job to figure out what the hell's going on around here. Now, we go way back, Arthur. It's why I wanted to make sure to talk to you when I heard Father David was discovered on your property. But you're going to have to level with me here. I'm not responsible for all things in this town. Arthur, Catherine Handler was murdered around the same time Father David was, in a similar fashion in terms of brutality. Now, as far as that case is concerned, we know who did it. It seems like a senseless killing. But we can't make sense of how close the 2 murders happened, and whether or not they're connected in some way. They're not. Why? How do you know that, Arthur? What happened to Father David was a response. Father David died for justice. You have to stop speaking in code. You got to let me know what the hell is going on so I can get the best possible outcome for you. Things are getting totally out of control, and I don't know if my child confided in me, Orrin. Josephine told me what Father David done to her, and I took action. Now I can tell you what happened to Father David and why, and we can talk about that. But it's important first that you understand that it was that Josephine told me he did to her. It explains it. Explains it all. It explains the connection between the 2. I'm not talking about the other girl. Catherine? Yes. Catherine Handler? Yes. I don't know nothing about that girl, Catherine. What the hell happened to her? But what I can tell you with absolute is why Father David ended up how he did, and what that has to do with my little girl, Josephine, and what it's got to do with me. All right, Arthur. Okay. So, Father David did something bad to Josephine, and Catherine was murdered. And this scene is Josephine and Catherine. So Josephine's speaking first. Catherine, if something real bad happened to you, would you tell somebody? Well, of course I would, Josephine. Of course I would. I don't know. What are you getting at, Josephine? Well, I think there are some secrets best left inside. Like some things are so bad that if you let them out, there's going to be hell on earth or something like that. Are you all right? I don't know. I really don't. Has something bad happened to you? Something did happen, but like I said, I don't think that any good is going to come from me talking about it and saying it to people. Well, who do you want to tell? I don't know. I was thinking about telling you for a second, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. Well, you can tell me anything, the world all told if you want to. You can tell me stories that you think will scare someone away, the things that make you uncertain in this world. I'm here to talk to you, Josephine, if that's what you're thinking is needed right now. Yeah, I know. I don't think that anything good can come from keeping the truth a secret. The truth is what this is all about, all of it. I try to deny that more than I should. I think too hard about lies until they're real, and then I even believe them, but what really matters, what's real in this world, if anything is at all, is that truth pierces the living like trees grow in their roots down deep into the soil. The truth is the only thing that can make us cry or wish we were different. It's the only thing in this world that can reveal anything to anybody. It's embedded in our reason to live. I think if I tell my daddy what happened, there's going to be hell to pay. And that'll be a bad thing? It's going to be bad thing for the one who did wrong, that's for sure. Wasn't that what you want to happen? Whatever this bad thing is? Isn't it going to be better once you tell someone like your daddy and he's able to, make it right? There was one time my daddy just up and comes home and tells me he's taking me somewhere and it's a surprise. Told my mama too, and she knew what he was up to, and she smiled and told me to get along with daddy. I remember the walk over, my heart was racing. It was like I was excited and scared to death at the same time in a good way all over, that he was leading me somewhere, and he seemed right down anxious for us to get there and me to see what surprise he had in store. We got to the rec center and it was decorated. They were having dancing there. A band was playing, guitars and big string instruments, belting it out for all those in the rec center to hear. And when we walked through that front door and heard that music, it was like being hit with something beautiful all at once. The surprise he had in store was starting to come to life, and we walked through the doors, and he took my hand, and we started dancing with all the other people dancing. I felt like love. I felt like my daddy was showing me how to dance and love at the same time in a way that bloomed from surprise and joy, and it was a series of moments I won't ever forget there dancing with my daddy that night, as what he wanted to be a surprise for me. I feel like that night I went from loving my daddy, knowing that I loved him and why, that there are people on this earth that love you for a reason that you can't know or understand, and you just have to trust and be with. It was like going from me being a little girl to a person and knew my place in the world. There with my daddy dancing, letting him show me how to dance and what love is. That's such a pleasant story, Josephine. So good that you have a daddy like that takes care of you. Well, that's such a great thing to have for you. Yeah. Well, I think you should tell your daddy what's wrong. Tell him what's bad and what's bothering you, because I think it seems like he's going to do a good job of making it right for you. Okay. So this is Sam, and he sees what Arthur does to Father David. Never seen something like it in all my days back, even in childhood. Sit on your porch for a snooze while you're awake and a few beers so you can dream about more than what you've got and relax for a few. But to see that, at first didn't think it was real. Thought for a second like the world was playing tricks with my eyes and one of the demons in my brain were acting up again. But I double take a bit, and there he is, plain as day, Arthur the man, dragging something out of his basement and throwing it out onto the lawn. Thought it was an animal at first, the way Arthur was handling him. Didn't know what to make of it. And I see crackling over there with the stakes come out, and he's driving them into the ground. Cross then there in the backyard there, and I thought, Arthur never seemed like a religious cat, but this makes me think different with the cross out on the lawn, and the thought was he was about to try to connect with Jesus in a way. What comes next, I can't really say. I started to see what was happening, who was there, that there was a man on the ground and not an animal. He was real gentle putting him up, Arthur, but then the hammer and whack. Blood like spray. He started screaming, and Arthur clocked him in the jaw so hard, passed him out. Whack! More blood. I was stupefied. Arthur's crucifying somebody. That's a body, I remember thinking. That's the body of a man right there. And Arthur taking a hammer and nails to the man. He up there on the cross, slammed the feet home. Whack! Whack! Spraying blood like the fire cries higher over with the smoke climbing and crying, drenched him in gasoline, lit a match. When I tell you that it was like screams were coming out of me. It was like the screams were in my chest, like the screams coming out of the man nailed to that cross, being alive, burned true all the way to death, and the other side of the beyond were so loud and clear and high that my chest contained them. Never forget the screams. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I couldn't stand. I couldn't sit. I started to dream in clear daylight, started to dream of something that happened to me as a child when I walked into church and saw the statue of Christ up at the altar, and the first time true, and realized that Jesus was in pain. I tried to help him. Ran up the aisle, my mother trailing behind me, and said, "What are you doing, Sam?" And I tried to tell her that Jesus was in pain up there on the cross, and I had to help him. And she said, "Baby, that's the death that saved all of us. That's why we saved, baby. You realize that now," she said. Okay. So the town reacts to the way that Arthur took care of Father David for abusing his daughter. And this is Gail and Ryan arguing about it. And it begins with Gail. "You're missing the point. I mean, this isn't the right way to look at such a horrific situation. There are no winners or those who are spared in a time like this. We all lose when something like this happens. All of humanity suffers. The collective suffering is something that you don't want to add to, and you must avoid adding to at all costs. To add in droves to the collective suffering is what you must stay away from, no matter what. And that includes a situation like this, where you have a man that takes matters into his own hands and does something that may seem like justice, but really is nothing more than evil fighting evil. Someone using evil in order to combat evil, which cannot and should not be the solution. No good will ever come from the brutal and vicious torture and death of a human being. This is an immoral thought and immoral teaching. The torture and death of a man cannot and should not be hoisted up as positive in any light, even if it is in retaliation for something horrific, rape in this case. The idea that an act like this type of torture and execution, crucifixion, cannot be praised in any way. It is not light. It is not moral. What about Jesus? Excuse me? You heard me. You're describing Jesus. What about him? I don't understand your question, sir. You're saying that nothing good can come from the torture and crucifixion and murder of a man. What about Jesus? He was tortured and crucified and murdered for all of humanity, to cleanse our sins. It's what you're describing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what Arthur Milk did to Father David. He tortured a priest and then burned him alive after nailing to a cross. Stop backtracking and answer my question. That isn't appropriate. Appropriate? I'm not going to let you stand up there and talk about Arthur this way. And I'm sure as hell not going to let you trash talk Jesus like this. What you're saying has no merit. What I'm saying is moral. What I'm saying is true, and I will not back down from you, especially if you just plan to bully me. Listen to me. What Arthur did was just. What Arthur did had morality to him because of what Father David did to his goddamn daughter, and that cannot be forgotten. Now, some say blame the church, blame the institution, and I do. But I also blame the man. I hold Father David accountable. If he's going to roam this earth thinking he can prey on young girls and abuse them and rape them and destroy their lives, then in a just world, on this earth, before his time is done, justice will come knocking. And it did. Arthur showed up to Father David's door and knocked loudly and clearly. And he sent a fucking message to all those who abuse and rape and act like this world is their own personal playground to act like an animal. He burned him alive. He tortured him. He crucified him. And from that, out of it came light. From it came justice and truth. That's what happens in an ideal world to a priest who rapes. He's tortured and nailed to a cross to die. And then the match is lit, and while he burns, he may learn something about what it means to love. He may have learned what Arthur felt when he heard about he abused and raped his only daughter. I know you're upset. And out of that fear and rage comes more rage. And that's exactly what I'm trying to clarify. I understand why Arthur did what he did, and I understand why people like you and others praise him for it. It doesn't seem like justice. It seems like morality. It seems as though Father David got what was coming to him. But it was not Father David's choice to lust after young girls. It was not his choice to do what he did. Bullshit. Bullshit. Regardless of any of that. What message does this send? What does this say about Arthur Milk's morality? Or anyone else's for that matter? What does it say to people that a man would stoop to the lowest depths imaginable? Why wouldn't he decide that he'd live out his life protecting his daughter and other daughters and spend the rest of his time loving and spending time with his daughter instead of taking revenge in such a brutal and godless way? Godless? Do you have a child, Mrs. Rupert? I do. I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. Imagine hearing that one of your own was abused. Imagine if Father David did something like this to you. I have suspicions Father David did abuse one of my children. Molested them? I do. And I have to live with that. And yes, part of me did smile deep down when I heard what Arthur did. But another part of me wept for all of humanity to know that a man is capable of carrying out that type of torture and that he was pushed to those immoral lengths. You need not cry or feel sorrow for Father David. Sure, I mean, perhaps it was his impotence that drove him to at the institution. But guess what? In this life, you reap what you sow. And I smile when justice is delivered. I smile because morality is brutal. And when a man acts in a brutal way and the boomerang takes his fucking head off, I'm in the rafters cheering him on. And if that makes me immoral to you, you can shove it. I don't give a shit. Sir, I side with humanity. Okay. So I'm going to read one last part. And this is Arthur speaking. Dad had doubts about him, and in that time thinking twice about Christ was likened to question whether a boulder falls hard. He used to joke about it. He'd joke about, say, maybe Christ was just downright buoyant, and that's what explains the miracle walking on water. Buoyancy. That was the first one got me thinking, and he probably would have been the only one ever got me questioning whether the church was telling me all truth. Got me wondering about who Jesus really was, and not in the sense that I just read about him and be told and that's that, but really taking a good look at the man, who Christ must have been. Made it more like he was a man just like Dad, walk into a room and sit down and talk to you. Sit across from you at a table and ask something like, have you wondered about eternity and your place in the divine? Christ must have known more about not just that death isn't real, but why that is. Christ must have been able to see through his flesh and blood to the light tie complete to all of us. No separation in the idea that the starving child is you and you are him. Treat people a bit differently if you really know and believe that, and you are your neighbor and your neighbor is you for truth. A man who believes something, a threat. And to those who killed Christ, that's all he was. If you're smart and the action's right, you eliminate threats. Too much of a threat hanging around is a bad thing. Can't trust it. Don't want him near your loved ones out of fear he might take action that won't fit in line with what you want and need. Whoever nailed Christ to that cross wanted the threat eliminated. I suspect whoever there murdered Christ thought, for whatever reason, that they were on the right side of morality. There are lots of people like that, thinking they're on the right side of the Lord, but really they're an agent of hell. It confuses me how someone can be that backwards, to see the world in this way. Their place in it is so lopsided, but they believe with all they have that their position is the moral and just one. I guess nature and people are one and the same. You got calm trees that just grow and stay put and sway, and you got volcanoes that erupt, flash, crack, and a whole town is dead. I guess the question is who amongst the living are protecting? Who are the ones we need protection from? Before Dad died, he told me, "You are a piece of this world that has eyes, Arthur. You are a piece of this world with eyes. What do you see, Arthur?" He asked me, "What do you see?" Okay. And the last, sorry, I'm just going to read one last piece. And this is Hector, and he lives on the street. And come through the clear and walk out, temple clear, near, but downpour rain can't miss it. Bowl of water for the living and a shot of whiskey for the dead. Temple near, clear forever your thoughts of forgotten sadness. Clean butcher knife and it all falls. Rotations foolproof by the mama who laid them. Push into your heart and croon you. Saw Jesus there walking. Didn't say. Took a look right at me and wondered why you need the rest here with me. The world entire cries higher. Smoke out the cannon. Then a good worth all God at the end of the stream. Evaporation, transmutation, bloom into the rest of it. He said to me, "I feel your heart from here." Jesus can't be walking near temple there and not see us. We all here standing as brothers and sisters aligned together for all humanity because the wicked get shut out and lost not yet. No temple for the wicked. Only for the ones you look down at your feet and see a lion there taming the rest. We seize it, I run, you hold me. We there together and you, me, because we love each other and let the ones not be able to love live their own hell. And the second they watch you, you try to take your own and you roar back with the right size cannon enough to take out a whole fleet. Jesus take my hand and says, "Your heart the right size for us. Your heart loves the right way, us all eternity." And we catch one and walk through the gates and into the temple of we are together as one. And weight of my bones clear cuts through my thoughts of the damned. And all there is light. It shines. And we there together. Thank you very much. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I tend to get fragments of ideas, kind of that filter in, and then I try to make sense of them and how they connect. The idea with the family and the will, I think that's what centers it. But yeah, it was just a lot of fragments, and I was trying to figure out how they all intertwined. So the first story is in a slightly fictional Rhode Island. I think it's a bit of a tangent away from Rhode Island, The Devil is on the Loose with an Axe in Marshalltown is a similar reality in terms of it's kind of an amalgamation of a number of different states and really fictional and a tangent away from our reality slightly. I think there's an element to the whole play in general that feels a little bit like the Salem witch trials, if maybe there had been a few witches, something like that. So slightly different reality. The devil makes an appearance in one of the other sections, and you only get he only appears to a character. So another character recounts seeing him in the woods. And really there are ideas to suggest that the woman who kills Catherine needlessly is possessed, and perhaps she's being controlled by the devil. Yeah, I try to write it as it comes. I've forgotten ideas and was very upset about it. That's happened to me. So I try to get everything down because they will go away, and sometimes you can't get them back. Yeah, so I try to get it down. Well, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I think that the story, that voice of David, the younger man in that story, is that. And, maybe naive but yeah, searching for that good. But a youthful voice that I think, particularly with the play, that voice is somewhat absent from the play, that youthful voice. I mean, I think it's present in some of the characters in moments, but certainly in that story, yeah, absolutely. I started playing music, and I was writing, in school and to a certain extent enjoying writing papers for English class, and I kind of noticed that I liked that and took to it. But music was more at the forefront when I was young, and yeah, at some point I just transitioned into writing, and I think I was probably around 20 when I really decided I was going to write and take it quite seriously and commit to it. And I don't think at the time I thought I was going to be a writer as much as this was how I was going to express myself and create art. But yeah, I was probably around 20 when I started taking it seriously. My study abroad in undergrad was very inspirational. I had a English professor my freshman year in college who I reached out to and sent him stories that I had been writing on my own and didn't know what to do with. And he was receptive and kind of became a mentor of mine for a few years. So I met him through my undergrad. In undergrad I took that and another English course, but my MFA experience helped tremendously. I worked with or studied with some truly great writers, and I think it was enormous from what I learned from them. But it was very much a mentor-mentee dynamic where I went to get my MFA, where I would send my work to a writer and they would critique it and send it back. I don't think I would have done well in a arena where I was getting critiqued by my peers. I don't think I would have taken to that at all. And yeah, and my experiences in that as an undergrad or when I was in grad school, they were tough for me to deal with. But that studying under someone and having them completely tear apart my work and be absolutely brutal with their critique, I was very open to. But yeah, I didn't necessarily want to conform to the ideology in the room of 20 people telling me, or oh, it should be like this. Oh, I like this. I don't like this. I didn't find that so beneficial. But the MFA program that I went through was enormous.